Hey everyone, today we will finally start my new grimoire. In this beautiful journal I have here with this magical mermaid on the cover. I got the idea for the first few grimoire pages from the book I'm currently reading, which is Becoming Witch from Cricket's Song. In her book, she talks about how to connect better with your magical journals, your grimoire and Book of Shadows. And in the list of ideas was to use a poem. So I decided to spend the first pages with my favorite poetry. By the way, I'm starting a new grimoire because I finished my old one. I never said this anywhere in the video, but that's a very exciting cause because, I don't know, it feels like such an accomplishment to finish a grimoire and then being able to start a new one. And yeah, so I'm very excited to take you with me on this journey and studying my new grimoire. While filming this, a huge storm blew up, and that's why I decided for this video there won't be any music. You will hear exactly what I heard while crafting this. So in the beginning, like with almost all of my art projects, I just take out everything I have and just let my intuition guide me. When I begin these projects, I have a feeling, not of how it's gonna look like, but just a feeling how the art will behave or how the art will feel, and I go with that feeling. So I just take out all of the things I have and see what supplies meet this feeling I have. For the first poem, I decided to use the first poem I ever wrote when I was a child. I wrote this in school after I found my favorite poem in German class, which is a poet from the 19th century who is one of the most famous German poets when it comes to the romantic literature genre. So lots of his poems are about how beautiful nature feels and behaves, which was quite typical for the era at the time. So I knew that this page was going to feel a bit like nature. That's why I decided for the background to use browns and greens. For the brown, I just use a paper bag from shopping. A part of the brown, I also decided for greens. And both of these greens have golden accents in them that for me stands for the divine in nature and also makes it a bit more mystical. Over the years, I collected lots of the art supplies I have. So for example, the green on top, I got this when I was a child because I wanted to make a lamp out of it, which I never ended up doing, but now many of my grimoire pages and my journal pages are blessed with this green paper. Then same thing, I just take a bunch of stamps, all which have this unique feeling I have in my mind and in my body of how this page is going to look like. And I just do trial and error, see what fits, see what I like. It takes some time to do art like this, but the end result is always so beautiful. These stamps are also something I got gifted when I was a child. I only ever just had this box, but it's just so abundant. I don't know, it just never gets empty. So I decided to go for a stamp and use a beautiful little sticker of a witch I had. And I think it's quite funny because the wand the witch has in her hand points directly to the stamp, like she would give a lecture about the terracotta object that is present on the stamp itself. I also think it's very fitting that I have a witch on the first page, because my first ever grimoire had also a witch on the first page, a witch drawing I found somewhere and then just drew myself and taped in there. It really kind of connects me to my path, that I continue this pattern or this tradition. Then I decided to use some stamps and some gold ink to press a leaf pattern onto the border of the brown and green paper at the bottom. Then, to give it more of an earthy feeling. I wanted to use some flowers and decided to go for dandelions. Oh no, that's incorrect. For, how do you call against Blümchen? That's daisies. Daisies in English. So I harvested these daisies just in my own garden. They grow in a huge abundance here, and in spring I collected a few and pressed them. They bring abundance, joy and love into this book. Exactly attributes I wish my grimoire to have. And I also think they look very cute, very lovely. I think I will read it to you, even though you might not be able to understand it, if you're not German, of course. Even though that's embarrassing, because I don't know how to read poems. Ich höre die Schatten der Bäume singen. Auf butterweißen Schwingen dreht sich der Tag ins Nichts. Der Traum in ihren Ästen gefällt mir dort am besten, wo er der Nacht entspricht. Yay. That's my poem. Okay, nice. And then I decided to go with the gold theme and paint some flower patterns around the corners, which I love doing. You see, this is a very reoccurring pattern for many of my grimoire pages. I think it looks just so lovely. It gives it such a unique and tiny detail that I just come back to it all the time. It's also very meditative to draw these tiny leaves because they're very small. It's always the same kind of pattern, and it's very calming to draw this. And having flowers and plants everywhere just makes me happy, like in real life. Then I wrote the poem in the middle. I decided to write the poem first with a green pencil and then with a brown one to give it a bit more depth. And I just love how it turned out. It looks so cute. At the bottom I also designed a sigil sequence that describes and invokes what I want from this grimoire. So yes, that is the first page. It turned out super cute. I really love it. On to the second one. So the next poem is from one of my favorite modern day poets. This is a poet that sadly doesn't at least publish the work anymore, as far as I know. That's also why the poetry books this author already published are not reprinted anymore, but you can still find some of the poems on the internet. This is where I found this by accident, and this is my favorite poem of this poet. The poem talks about a dream. Because of that, I decided to go with a very dark theme and used blacks and black blues for the background. I wrote the poem with a white gel pen and sprinkled some silver watercolors on top to give it a very, again, mystic feeling, but also to symbolize that it's night. And for me, white, silver, blacks are the colors of the night sky and the night. So I thought they would fit perfectly for this poem. So, will I read this poem for you? Yeah, I guess I will actually. It's called Wreath of Dreams, number 1. Last night I had a dream. I was floating down a black river. I was naked and covered in ash. A serpent laid upon my breast, its body coiled around my neck. From its mouth flew a white moth. With a swiftness I caught it in my hands, and my palms caught on fire. Okay, yes, so nice. I love it. Such a good poem. When I first read this, I was like, I feel it in my bones. I just love the poetry so much. It feels so witchy, it feels special. So I'm very happy that I decided to just put it into this book. The book you can see here is my poetry collection, so it's a book where I write all the poems down, I write myself, and I just love. The shoes are packaged in two when you buy them. I got them for free from a shoe shop, and I use these since ages to just store my magical supplies. In this one I stored all of the different types of papers and scrap papers I have. So with the first page, I just went through it and felt what papers, what symbolism, what colors have the right feeling, have the right vibe for this poem. Then I decided to decorate. I decorated with some pictures I printed out years ago of a witch you can see in the corner, and a musical tree at night you can see in the other corner. I decided to add some, how are these called again? I use them a lot because I love them. They symbolize transition, they are protective, they protect borders between things. They are also for good luck. It's a very special animal, a very special insect. I also decided to add these little moths because for me they are also the symbol of the night. They also bring this mysticism into it, and I don't know, for some reason it feels super witchy to have them into the spread, so I decided to let them fly around the poem. And I also had 2 stickers of beautiful women in a more Greek style, which I also added to this page. And then at the border, I used washi tape. I have this beetle washi tape, which I love. It has such a nice energy, and I thought it would be perfect to add it for this page. Next, the last page. Also 3 is just such a good number to start a grimoire. I'm very happy about it. The 3rd page is the poet that inspired me as a child to write my first ever poem, and that is Eichendorff. I don't know if you know him. Maybe you do. It's a very famous German poet. And one of his most famous poems is Mondnacht, which translates to moon night. And this was a poem we needed to analyze in school. And I know many people hated this, but I just loved analyzing poems. And this just, it spoke to me in such a unique way. When I was a child, it made me dream, and it made me daydream, and I felt very connected to it. So, of course, I had to put it into this grimoire. In the beginning, of course, I knew I wanted this to represent the night and nature, and because on the other half with Breath of Dreams it was already very dark and night inspired, so I had the choice between making this page dark as well or going back to the greens and the earthy tones from the nature theme, and I decided to go back to the greens. So the first thing I did was looking through some different papers and deciding for a very cute green paper with little flowers and butterflies. On top of this, I used the same green paper with the golden details that my mom gifted me when I was a child, which I also used at the first page where I wrote my own poem inspired by this poem. Then I knew I wanted to decorate around this poem and looked through the papers again to see if I could find some symbolism I liked, or some flowers, maybe some plants that I would like to decorate the page with. So looking through these papers, I found this page with lots of butterflies and moth, and I decided to go for the moth and just cut out many of them and just glued them around, because it also fits perfectly with the moth on the other side with the black ones. Every single piece of glitter I picked up individually with a tiny brush and then glued individually onto the right spot where it was supposed to go. And that took ages as well. Again, very meditative work, so I don't mind, but yeah, this was a lot of work, and I don't know, it fills me with such joy to do this. And I'm very happy I could show this to you. I'm very happy I filmed this process and can show it now on YouTube. Then I decided to use some pressed leaves I collected in the spring. And I'm very happy in how it turned out. It took a long time to get the right placement, and it was lots of trial and error what felt good. But I'm so happy how they turned out, you know. I'm looking at these pages and it just fills me with such joy. I'm very happy about it. Now I'm having my Grimoire in front of me and I'm looking at both of these pages, both describing the night, and somewhat a magical night, but in such different ways. I think these pages fit perfectly together. It was a really good choice. I don't know. My intuition just never lets me down. So yeah, these are my final book pages. I'm very, very happy about it, and I hope you like this video. Bye bye!